everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sydney and you're watching More Life with S. Marie. This video is currently under my series called The Matter Chronicles, where I'll be talking about my journey in the Peace Corps, Madagascar, and how I've been, readjusting to my life back home since the Peace Corps. In this video, I will be talking about my first 3 months of service. A lot of people have asked me, how did I adjust to being in the Peace Corps, adjust to being in Madagascar? Was I in culture shock and things like that? And I've been trying to figure out how to break down this video. Madagascar, as I think I mentioned in the first video, it's such a huge island. So each region has its own culture, its own way of life. So every time I went to a different region, I low-key had a different culture shock. So I decided to break it down to my first 3 months was when I was in a village called Montasu, which was inland, and then the rest of my Peace Corps service when I lived on the East Coast. Before we begin this video, one of my subscribers made such an awesome suggestion that I should start a word of the day. And so my word for the day is Manahoana. Manahoana means hello in Malagasy, and you can also say Salama. Salama also means hello. But in my dialect, we say Akory. So if you saw my t-shirt from last week, I had a shirt that said Akory. So Akory is the long version, but Akory is the short version. So Manahoana, Salama, Akory. Yeah. Good. Now you know how to say hi in Malagasy. So, to set the scene. As I mentioned in the last video, after leaving Chicago, I went to Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, myself and the rest of my cohort, we all met there. We signed in and got kind of an orientation to Peace Corps. And after that, we hopped on a bus to go to New York. And then we hopped on a plane to go to South Africa. And then we hopped on another 3-hour flight to Madagascar. Y'all, low-key, people always ask me, like, what were my first impressions about Madagascar? And I don't really remember. That day one, our plane was delayed, so we went to a hotel. And I remember waking up the next day and we were driving to the training center. And I was just in awe. Like, I just couldn't believe I was there. After we wake up from the hotel, we travel to the training center. So the training center was located in a village called Montasu. When I arrived at this training center, first of all, I was in awe. Like, it was beautiful. It's located on Lake Montasu, which is a beautiful lake. And it's kind of resembling a summer camp vibe. We had a basketball court and volleyball net facing the lake. They had different cabins and bungalows for us to stay in. And one of my first memories is that me and my friend that I met, Gabby, we were like, okay, we're gonna room together. We ended up signing our name in a room slot that had 9 beds in it. Y'all, tell me why out of the 9 beds that were there, Gabby and I were the only girls. We were the only girls. And so we kind of realized right there that this is not college, this is not, high school or anything. Like, we're adults. They don't care here about like gender, girls over that side, guys on that side. So we ended up rooming with 6 other guys, and it was actually not that bad. They were really kind and respectful. So that was that. The way the training center was set up was we met Monday through Friday. I believe we met Saturday mornings at times. And we would cover technical classes. Technical classes consisted of what we would be teaching our villages in the future. So Peace Corps Madagascar has 3 sectors: education, agriculture, and health. And in those technical classes, you're learning about nutrition. For health, I was health. You're learning about nutrition and malaria and early childhood illnesses and things like that. agriculture, you may be learning how to, I don't know, what is agriculture? How to build a garden, talking about garden to table methods and things like that. Education taught the students English, and so how to teach English, grammar, and all those things. So those were covered in technical classes. Then you also had language classes. In order to swear in at the end of Peace Corps, you have to pass a language assessment. And so we had to learn Malagasy. Malagasy is the official language of Madagascar. And yeah, and the other classes that we take during this Monday through Friday session are cultural classes. In those cultural classes, the language and cultural facilitators, called LCFs, they're Malagasy, and they come together and create different seminars or PowerPoints or interactive games and things like that to teach us about Malagasy culture. So while we did get assigned rooms at the training center, we did not live at the training center throughout the week. If we didn't stay at the training center, where do we live? We lived with host families for 3 months. I believe we stayed at the training center for a week, or maybe even just 2 days, 2 to 3 days, and then we were assigned a family. So your host family, they provide you with a room. They teach you how to use the bathroom and shower. They cook for you. They teach you Malagasy. Oh, they're so patient, y'all, because they'll be like, this is a knife. I'm like, okay. They're like, this is a knife. What is it? I'm like, ooh, this is a knife. What is it? Like, it was just really, they have to just be really patient. And I'm just so thankful for my host family because they truly were just really kind. So yeah, they teach you the language. They teach you how to do your laundry. And they just provide you with so much love. You're so far away from your family. And so to have a family there, that cultural dynamic kind of breaks up learning in a classroom setting as well. So you're learning application-wise versus just theoretical. Your host family is also kind of your first introduction into the family structures of Madagascar. While, like I said, Madagascar, each region is very different, and how they handle family life and family structure can be different. But this is your introduction, and in some cases, this may be your first introduction to cultural differences or cultural conflicts. And that was the case for me. I had my first cultural conflict. It was just an issue of language barriers, cultural misunderstandings. But through that, as a family, we forgave each other. We got through it, and I learned so much from that experience. And I just learned that everybody's human. You know, we all make mistakes. We all misunderstand something, and to be able to forgive and move on and still have so much love in your heart, like, that's what a real family is, at least to me. And so it's not going to be this, I mean, for some people it may be this walk in the park. No, this is like your real life. You're not here on vacation, you're living here. And so you're going to run into conflicts at times, but it's how are you going to manage those conflicts when they arise? So your host family can help you, can maybe your first introduction to those conflicts, but get through it. Be, as Peace Corps loves to say, resilient. Also, during these 3 months, you attend a site visit. And a site visit is where you get to visit where you're going to live for 2 years. The way it's set up is our Zookies, that's another word for the day. Zookies are considered like older siblings, and in Peace Corps terms, it's the cohorts that came before you. So our Zookies set up this nice site reveal for us where we got to know what sites we were going to. And then the following week, members of our site community came to pick us up to take us to our sites. I still remember to this day the excitement that me and my host mom felt when we found out that we were going to be each other's host mom and host daughter. It was just such a beautiful, warm embrace. And Malagasy people, the culture isn't normally traditionally like physically affectionate and like giving hugs and stuff, but like she ran up to me and gave me a hug and was just so happy and just kept saying like she's so happy that I'm black like her. Like she kept saying like we have the same skin, like we have the same hair. And I'm just like, I wanted to cry right then and there, because as a Black American who doesn't know necessarily where her ancestry comes from, like that warm embrace from a fellow African country is just, it just felt like home, and it was just such a beautiful, warm embrace. And I was so excited for the rest of my site visit. So during the site visit, I traveled from the capital all the way to the East Coast, and the culture on the East Coast and the culture in the Highlands, which is the middle area, is completely different. Partly because, I mean, coastal and inland, even in the United States, that culture is different. But it's also very hot. It was so hot. It was so hot, y'all. Like, I got there, where in inland, people were normally very like covered up and long skirts, and I never wore shorts there in the Highland. But over on the East Coast, people were wrapped up in cloth, like fabrics, because it was just so hot. So they would just wear fabrics or shorts and tank tops, sundresses, and things like that. And so that was a big culture shock, because I had been living for 2.5 months in a more conservative area, versus on the East Coast, they were more liberal. And the music was different. The music was very like coastal, Afrobeats, like dancing music and things of that nature. And so it was just mind-blowing. If I did anything at the site visit, I slept, y'all. I slept so much. I don't think people understand the toll learning a new language, being in a new spot, meeting all these new people, having all these new experiences take on the brain. Like, my brain was so exhausted. I really wanted to be there in that moment, but I slept that whole time. My host family still makes jokes about me sleeping that first week I was there. It was insane, and it was so hot compared to how it was in the place that I had been living for 2 months in Montessu. I was sweating all the time. I was getting tore up by mosquitoes. But I was so excited to live my life there for 2 years. I felt like where Peace Corps had placed me matched my personality to the T, and I just felt such a warm embrace from the community members. I remember my community were redoing my box braids. They knew about box braids, and we were sitting, I will not forget this, sitting in my host family's living room, redoing my box braids, watching Medea. Was I at home or what? Like, it was crazy. It was such a beautiful experience, and I did not want to leave. The last thing that we did at the training center was have our final assessments. And our final assessments consisted of a technical project, or technical presentation. That's what it was. It consisted of a technical presentation. So we had to pick a topic that we learned throughout those 3 months and present it to a community in Malagasy. Then also another final assessment that you have to do is language. So in order to swear in, you have to pass a language exam. If you don't pass, it's not like you get kicked out of the Peace Corps. You just have to take a couple more classes, and then you are able to swear in later. So here comes the big events. You swear in. So in the Peace Corps, you do have to swear in. You take an oath, put your right hand on your chest, and say a couple words. I don't remember what I said exactly. But you swear into the Peace Corps and you have a big celebration. And then literally the next day they take you to the Capitol. You buy all of the things that you would need to move on to your site, and you have one last hurrah with your friends, and then you head off to your site that you will live in for 2 years. But that's pretty much it for my first 3 months. I think I tried to cover everything without making this video extremely long. I hope that it was informative. I do want to not share all of my thoughts because, you know, the future volunteer may want to watch this video, and I want to keep some things a surprise for them. And so I hope that you all enjoy this. And yeah, I really appreciate y'all. My name is Sydney, and you're watching More Life with S. Marie.